Just your thoughts on the bridge.
I'm speechless. You know, I guess I'm not really surprised that there has come a time where there are additional complications, and I'm sure that they will do the right thing and make the decisions that have to be made to keep us all safe. I think that's the bottom line. You want people. I don't want people going over the bridge if it's not going to be safe.
There's a meeting coming up at 11:30 today that will brief the folks over in Palm Beach. Anybody briefed West Palm Beach yet?
I can't answer that. Our Utilities Public Works Department has been in close contact with FDOT and the folks working on the bridge, so I suspect that they know what's going on. I just haven't talked to anyone this morning yet.
What's your sense of how this plays out? Do you think this bridge should stay closed, given what we've seen over the past year? Just keep it closed, build the other one, and live with it as city to city?
I'm not an engineer. I can even begin to speculate on what should happen. I think, you always have to weigh convenience over safety, and hopefully safety wins out. But we don't want to be inconvenienced for no reason. So.
To invest $9 million and then possibly not have a fix to the problem, is there a better way to spend that money?
Well, let me think.
As someone entrusted with public dollars, certainly you would see how some people might raise an eyebrow that a lot of money was spent on something that might not in the end have fixed this problem.
Well, I think that they had some experts looking at this that felt like they could fix it. And if that's the case, they moved forward with it and made a decision based on the data that they had at the time. So, we'll see what happens, see what the cause, I don't even know what they're saying the cause is at this point. So we'll see. We could use some money for quiet zones.
That would pay for lots of quiet zones.
A few.
Can I?
Absolutely. Go
You want
ahead.
to talk about quiet zones?
Well, I'll just ask you, have you heard back from the state? Do you think you'll actually get this, you'll actually see any of this money? I know your position is that it's the state should be paying it, but realistically, do you think that they're gonna?
I don't know, and I'm not saying, I guess I wouldn't characterize my position on this as that the state should be paying this. I think Olive Florida has a stake in this and probably ought to contribute some dollars to it as well. But we want to make sure that the state understands the position that we're in, and if there is extra funds, we'd like them to come this way.
Olive has said they're not paying for contributing towards the quiet zone. They're saying they'll pay for some improvements which would potentially decrease the cost of quiet zones.
Correct. They're paying for this, what they call safety improvements, which are improvements that would have had to be done to affect a quiet zone. So it's we're paying in the additional increment beyond that to actually have it happen, but they've sort of taken the first step.
So they're saying, well, we're already throwing some money in there.
Yeah. And they are. It's helpful that they're doing this, but they're also going to be, this is going to be a good route for them. But we're really approaching this as partners because it's good for the city too. I've talked to the Olive Florida people on a number of occasions, and they've been very open and willing to talk about ideas and plans. One of my major concerns, in addition to the quiet zones, is the fact that our downtown grid will be disrupted with the closing of Datura and Ivernia. And I want to make sure that pedestrians will be able to go east-west from the east side of Quadrille. And that's really important to me to preserve that grid.
Is there anything new to report on the issue with the flea market?
No, I can't. I have nothing new on that. I know that our folks are working on it.
Okay.
Any noticeable progress or changes in those few weeks that there's been a renewed focus on that area?
I haven't heard from anybody, but I know that our police are having a very large presence there, so I suspect there have been some changes in terms of the safety factor. And I know that they were meeting with the owners, so I don't know where we are.
Not to get too far ahead, but are there other areas like this the city may consider adding more resources to, like the flea market, or other places not at that level of concern yet?
You mean adding more police resources there?
Right.
It's hard to say at this point. I think we have to better understand, you know, where the owners are coming from. We're hoping that they'll take ownership in making this a better place, and a lot of it depends on what they're going to do. And if they're not going to do that, then we'll be citing them with our code enforcement people, and we'll be if they don't respond, they'll become a chronic nuisance, and we'll move that through the process.
But you have the flea market owners have become a little more cooperative, because I know there was a time when they really weren't responding.
Well, I know that we have talked with them. I don't know what the outcome of those talks are.
Any update on the CRA outsourcing negotiations?
Yeah, we are going to be meeting with the 2 finalists next week.
And that the organization that the private, their initials are CRA, but they're different CRA with the housing. I know that there was a big meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was Commissioner Materia or Commissioner Mitchell had all sorts of questions. Is there an update on that?
We have met with the commissioners, and well, since the meeting, we've gotten requests for information from a couple of the commissioners, which we've complied with, and sent them the information that they have requested when it's existed, you know, when it's in the form of a report or whatever. And so we're trying to give them all of the information that they need and want. This group, CRA Florida for Housing, they had a lot of work to do, and while people may believe that they understand all the nuances of the HUD regulations, they are very complicated. And to go back for over 10 years to start pulling invoices and trying to match them up with the data that you have takes a considerable amount of time. Would I like them to be moving more quickly and seeing some of the actual tangible results of the work that they're doing? Absolutely. So we've got them on some strict timelines for completion, and you know, we're moving all of those projects forward. But the important part was to get us on the right track, and it takes time.
Have you heard anything from HUD?
HUD Miami, no. The last time when we went through this was before I became mayor, when it was the blue roof issue. It took a year to hear from HUD Miami, so we don't expect anything in the near future, honestly.
Just to maybe wrap things up with the bridge, if this becomes a prolonged issue, we'll see similar measures to what we saw last time with
Correct.
traffic, police, and so on.
Well, and of course we're entering season now
Yeah.
too, and a lot of our walks are going on, and you know, other events downtown, so we're definitely going to have to address that.